one.
Hello, welcome to Meet Me at the Movies. Noel T. Manning, the second here with Thomas Manning. Good to see you, buddy. Man, I tell you, Thomas, we are in the preseason, but you and I have been having some fun at the box office lately, and also at the home box office. We've been enjoying some films at home and theatrically, and you and I got a chance to check out early screening of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Thomas, this is the 10th film over the course of the franchise that was launched back in 1968 as a film, but the original novel came out in 1963. And so here we are talking about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So you and I really loved a trilogy that came out as part of this kind of that reboot trilogy. Started back in 2011 and went through 2017. And here we are with a continuation of that, but in a different way. Any other thoughts you want to make sure you share about previous things before we kind of dive in?
Yeah, obviously the trilogy, the last trilogy, you had Matt Reeves directing two of those and led by Andy Serkis in the lead role, the lead motion capture role as Caesar, who is one of my favorite protagonists that we've seen in a trilogy in the past 25 years or so. Just a beautiful character arc, and I love the entire journey of that character. And I knew that coming into this, it was going to be kind of difficult to live up to just the shadow of Caesar. But they took this film forward 200, 300 years down the line, which I think was a great decision. And they actually make some really interesting narrative decisions with that shadow of Caesar that I was speaking about, which we can get into a little bit later on.
Yeah, and I have been a fan of the Apes since childhood, and one of the first sci-fi series I remember going to theaters to see, and the original came out, I said, in 68. I didn't see that one in theaters, but I saw it on TV, and I remember just being blown away by it, and ended up, wanting to get all the merchandise connected to it. And this was probably one of the first film franchises that utilized merchandising in the way that it did, that we actually saw later with other films really taking advantage of it. But the Apes did that, and they had spin-off TV series. I've got like some novels here. This is from the TV series version, Battle for the Planet of the Apes, which was one of the films, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, and Conquest. And so, I've got these kind of old school paperback novels, and I just still am fascinated anytime I hear there's going to be a new version of this. And so I was really excited when I heard Kingdom was coming out, and kind of the new approach, but also the continuation. It wasn't a reboot. It was a continuation of a story that we have come to know and love, especially the past, 12 or so years.
Absolutely. And one of the things that made the past 12 years or so of these Apes movies stand out was the incredible advancement of visual effects from Weta Digital, which they're always right there at turning the curve before anybody else, and continuing to uncover new pathways and really kind of challenge what we think we know about the limits of visual effects and motion capture. And I thought War for the Planet of the Apes, I didn't think that could be topped. But I really think here with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, they have somehow taken that next step. And I just, have the utmost respect and have to give all my kudos and applause to them. Just looking at the eyes of the apes and just the minute details of their faces, and imbuing the most human characteristics possible into them. Just everything about it is something that my brain is still working to catch up with, I think.
Yeah, it is a beautiful film. The production design right away from the beginning just captured me. And at every scene, at every turn, I just found myself going, look at that, look at that. It was just so beautiful, that design. And you mentioned, these apes, we're used to seeing what Andy Serkis did. And I think they've just continued to advance that. And I'm just kind of blown away by that, because this film to me is what's a bit different about this one than the others. If you even go back to War of the Planet of the Apes, we've continued to see fewer and fewer humans within the stories as it's progressed since 2011. And this one, there's only one true main human character, or as the some of the apes call humans echoes. And that particular character by the name of May/Nova is played by Freya Allen. And if you stick around and watch after the break, you're going to be seeing an interview we have with Freya Allen as well as Owen Teague and also Kevin Durant, not the basketball player who are connected to this film, but mostly apes that we're seeing on screen, and of course some other flying creatures as well. But to me, that was a fascinating thing about this, and you honestly didn't miss the humans because these characters, these ape characters, were so engaging, and they did a great job developing these characters as well. And that was something I love too, Thomas.
Yeah, and if you look at the Matt Reeves trilogy and the arc of that, it started out with apes and humans coexisting and then apes slowly taking over. But we saw, the first two films that in that series through the eyes mostly of humans, and then it was kind of transitioning through Caesar's eyes. And that continued. By the end, it was fully through Caesar's eyes. And this film is, of course, again, fully through the eyes of the apes. And I think they might kind of mirror that if they continue this into a trilogy, slowly transitioning, bringing humans into the fold, much like they did with apes taking over in the first trilogy. So I think that's just a very fascinating potential for where we could go with this. But I was talking with you about this at lunch yesterday. What is their end point for this? What's their end game? Where are they going to try to go? Is it going to be another war? Is it just going to be a continued cycle of that? But they're planting these seeds of, perhaps it is possible to find that coexistence between apes and humans. And they share a lot more in common than what separates them. And, perhaps they can find that peace. And so that's something that excites me to think about how they can continue to really dig into those themes.
Yeah, I really do have hopes that this particular film will do well at the box office and have some good legs. And once it hits homes, even more people will get a chance to see it, because I do want to see the continuation of this. And this film, it does not leave you with a cliffhanger, but it does leave you with some interesting questions. It answers some questions that we had throughout the film Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but also it leaves you wondering, wow, okay, I want to know more, but in a good way. It's not like, some of these films we've seen in recent years that are franchise films. They literally leave you with a cliffhanger that you've got to wait 2, 3, or who knows how many more years before you can find out, how does this story progress. But this one had a very clear beginning and a very clear ending of a chapter, but it felt complete. And I did appreciate that as well. But I do hope they get a chance to further this story with these apes and the humans that are still around. And one of the things that we find out very early on, Thomas, in this film is that the humans, most humans have lost the ability to be able to speak, to have a higher intellect. They basically become feral animals, and that's how they are treated. And so much so that they've dwindled in population, and some of the apes in this film have never seen a human before. That's how different this landscape and this environment and this world is now. It's changed tremendously.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's one more really critical aspect of the narrative I want to talk about, and that is the religious undertones and overtones in this film. The villain, who is played by Kevin Durant, who you're going to be speaking with, He's this ape, who's crowned himself as a king, and he basically wants to play God. He thinks he can speed up the process of evolution in a certain way, and he is just not content to let the natural world take its course. He wants to take nature into his own hands, and throughout the history of the world, we've seen that's never a good thing when you try to play with the laws of nature. And the apes, a lot of the apes in this film look to, this is going back to what I mentioned, this shadow of Caesar. They look to Caesar as basically a godlike figure.
Mhm.
And generations later, certain factions of the apes have contorted and corrupted his
Mhm.
messages to suit their own agendas.
Yes.
And, for all intents and purposes, the kingdom of Primordius Caesar, is that his name?
I don't think that's right, but he does take Caesar's name.
Yes, yes, yes.
Proximus.
Yes,
He's
okay.
Proximus Caesar.
Okay.
I think
for,
you're referring to some kind of transformer, but it's Proximus Caesar.
okay.
Proximus Caesar.
Anyway, my main point, for all intents and purposes, they are basically a kingdom of religious extremists that have, taken Caesar's name in vain. And also, just another really cool part of the design of their kingdom, they're basically pirates. They live
Mhm.
on the coast. The aesthetic is so cool and continues to show another side of this world. But yeah, I mean, where they're living, I think that's a cool place to live. But I don't really support their ideologies either. So, yeah.
So it's a fascinating film, Thomas. I think in many ways it speaks to culture classes. It speaks to looking at history and twisting it for your own needs, the thirst for power, and then the thirst for knowledge in a different way as well. I really was, the more I've thought about this film after we watched it, the more and more I love it, and the more I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I think this is really solid effort from Wes Ball, who directed this, coming into it. And I think he definitely, you can tell he has a lot of reverence for the legacy of these films. And I think he should be very proud of what he has accomplished here.
Yeah, this is a solid standalone sequel to me. You can go into this film. I want to make sure we mention this. You can go into this film without any knowledge of the previous films and still appreciate it. And this movie, running time 145 minutes, so it's not a short film. But I did not find myself looking at my watch at all during this film.
Yeah, yeah. The first time I did notice the time, 2 hours had already passed, and I was like, "Oh wow, well we're about to the end of this, but it only feels like maybe an hour and a half at the most has passed." So I think it's a very good entry point, and it'll be cool to see if this brings new fans to the franchise as well, and maybe inspire them to check out some of the previous entries. But yeah, I think for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I will give a strong B plus, and it's one that I will return to.
All right, for me, I'm giving it a solid B rating. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, a B rating for me, B plus from Thomas. We appreciate you joining us. I invite you to stick around after the quick intermission. We are going to come back with some interviews from those behind the scenes right here on Meet Me at the Movies from the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Won't you come and meet me at the movies? Won't you come and watch it?
Education is our most powerful tool to improve and change our world. Hi, I'm Rhonda Benfield, your host for School Matters. Join me for a new program every other week with information from and about the students and staff of Cleveland County Schools. Discover what our schools are doing to challenge students and help them reach their full potential. You can catch us on Spectrum Cable Channel 19 or stream us live on c19.tv.
Hi, I'm Steve Putnam, and I'd like to invite you to join me for the next Talk of the Town. Each week I get to meet with some of the most interesting people in Cleveland County, and each show is packed with information you need to know to stay connected to our community. From promoting upcoming events to discussing local subjects that impact you, Talk of the Town has a little something for everyone. Plus, we're on every day, so it's easy to catch up with us. That's Talk of the Town, every day, every week, right here on C19 TV, Cleveland County's channel.
Hi, I'm Nikki Bliss Carroll, your host for Cleveland Connections, the show that explores what's happening at Cleveland Community College. Join us as we sit down with members of faculty and staff to discuss programs of study, upcoming events, and other exciting campus news. We'll have a new show for you each month on C19 TV, or you can stream us online at c19.tv. Tune in and connect with Cleveland Community College on Cleveland Connections.
Won't you come and meet me at the movies? Won't you come and watch a
Hello and welcome to this open dialogue segment of Meet Me at the Movies. Noel T. Manning II here, and today just really excited to be able to dive into the film Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and I'm doing it by offering some behind-the-scenes thoughts from those who are bringing it to the big screen. Now, the 10-film franchise originally launched in 1968, and it spun off TV series, comics, books, lunchboxes. Yeah, I had one. There were also reboots and a lot more merchandise, which I could not get enough of. This was one of those film series that I had to see. I had to engage in every aspect of it. From a sci-fi standpoint, it was probably the first one that I really remember just absolutely loving. And I still love this film franchise. Probably one of my favorites if I go back and really think about it. Now, when I think about what's happened over the past 20 or so years, I think about the Tim Burton remake in 2001. And then 10 years later, there was a trilogy that came out that was just astounding in so many ways. So to see this come to life once again and continue to find breath on the screen in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I'm just so excited to be able to talk to some of those behind the scenes and give you a glimpse. So now I invite you to join me as we spend time talking about the film and the characters played by Freya Allen, Owen Teague, and Kevin Durand. Hi, Noel T. Manning II here. Welcome to Meet Me at the Movies. Let me just say, what a wonderful day.
What a wonderful day. What a wonderful day! What a wonderful day!
Owen, Kevin, I tell you, both of your characters, you have this incredible thirst for knowledge, yet their motivations are quite different. So I'd love to hear you both share some insights with that for our audience. And Owen, we will start with you on that.
Yeah, that was kind of the key to finding Noah was this curiosity and this drive to understand everything. He's a really interesting character to me because there's kind of two Noahs that are always in conflict, and the first is that curiosity. He wants to learn and wants to see the outside world, and then the second one, there's a part of Noah that's very law-abiding, that's very very much his father's son, and it's been drilled into him that you follow the law. And so that's kind of the core of his evolution is those two sides battling it out over this journey and his mind being opened.
Yeah. Proximus just wanted to study and learn everything that he could about humans first and foremost. And when he realized what the nature of man was like, he realized that if the apex of power switched back to humanity, that they'd probably all end up back in cages and laboratories, so he needs to get a hold of this information that he's trying to get a hold of before humans can, because he knows that will probably happen. So yes, he's very curious about knowledge is power. Yeah.
Well, both of your characters, it's great to see you both here together, because on screen, they are adversaries, they're opponents, but they also feel like they can learn something from each other in some way. And if we look at any of our adversaries or opponents, I think we can always find a positive attribute about them. There's something about them. So Owen, what would you say that Noah would think is a positive attribute for Proximus?
I mean, his drive to find knowledge and to uncover the true history. Proximus has resources where Noah doesn't, and knows how to use them. And they really kind of get Noah's mind turning, you know.
Yeah.
And I think if it weren't for the premise of the film, you know, my clan being attacked and stolen and all that, I think these two would be collaborators.
They would be a formidable team, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Proximus, for the first time in his life, the way that I saw it, when he speaks to Noah for the first time, he's like, oh my God, there's another one.
Yeah.
There's another one. He sees himself in this young ape, and he can't help but think, oh wow,
Yeah.
What an incredible team we could make. Whether or not that ever happens, I don't know, but it sure feels like they would be formidable.
Yeah.
Yep. Owen,
Yeah.
Kevin, thank you so much. Really appreciated the film on so many different levels. Longtime fan of the franchise going back to childhood. So it's wonderful to see this life continuing to breathe on screen through the Planet of the Apes. And thank you both for bringing that to life.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
It was our pleasure.
Yeah. Nice talking to you.
Yeah, thank
Take
you.
care, guys.
What a wonderful day!
Why do they hunt her?
She is important.
I have a name. May.
Good to see you. Really good to see you. I love the franchise. Have since I was a kid, so I am a long timer as it relates to the Apes, and I love what your character is doing. It's great to see this character who is a fighter. May is brave. May has this physical and also this mental strength. And I'd love for you to share in what ways you feel that you are most like May, and maybe what ways you feel you're most different.
I would say I'm very determined, and she's definitely very determined. But I would love to be as brave as she is. I think I'd be dead within the first 5 minutes of this film if it was me.
Themes in this film run really the spectrum. I love how it speaks to compassion, to mercy, looking beyond our own culture, maybe our own beliefs. How do you feel that this film and maybe some of the characters will challenge viewers the most?
Yeah, I mean, I think, at the center of this story, you have Noah and May, who have grown up with very specific views of one another, and they are face to face and in that challenging everything that they've ever known. And, I think that is definitely something that we can, resonate with in terms of being face to face with a person and actually getting to see what they really are like, and looking beyond what you've grown up with. So that's definitely one of the main threads throughout the whole film.
Yeah, change is so hard for people, and I think this film really addresses society's fear of change and how that can upset the balance of power and the balance of belief, and you just touched on that. One thing for me, as I look at this, and I'm so thankful we're in a world now where stunt workers are gaining a deeper appreciation from the general public, and I know that you're very intimately aware of the importance of this since you were engaged in some of your own stunts, maybe most of them. So how do you feel that being that active in your stunts brought you closer to the character of May?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly why, one of the reasons I also enjoy it, but one of the reasons why I like to do the stunts, because I feel like it's all the character, and, even in the way that I move or experiencing the stunts and feeling it in your body. And I feel like all of that is helpful for the character, getting to live as much of what they're doing as possible is always going to be helpful. And so, yeah, it's always kind of integral to me that I do as much as I can on every job.
Were there any stunts in this particular film that you found to be daunting for you, challenging for you the most?
It definitely was a little bit daunting that I'd have to be spending a week in a tank with water where my head is underwater, but I've got the water coming towards me this way, so it's going straight up my nose. That was definitely something I had to mentally, wrap my head around. But actually, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I, as usual, I always end up just loving doing these, kind of torturous things. But I just like the challenge of it. But yeah, no, I actually had a blast. But that was a little bit like, I'm gonna have water shooting up my nose all week.
Well, I think it allows us to see just how far we can go and really what we are capable of as human beings sometimes when we see that fear and face it and go beyond it. I'd love for you, if you could, talk about any inspirational figures that maybe spoke to you as you were thinking about bringing May from the page to the screen. Were there any professional or personal or maybe even film characters from the past that really kind of laid a foundation for you?
I mean, you're always subconsciously inspired, I think, by just general performance. I am, at least, I sometimes if I'm needing a little bit of like an energy boost or I go and watch a new film and get inspired. But there wasn't any character that specifically I was taking anything from for this. It was just coming up with my own backstory and, taking, as usual, you're always taking a bit from yourself and your own life.
Were there any of the previous Apes films that you wanted to revisit to have this kind of foundational understanding of where we are and maybe where we came from?
Yes, I mean, I watched the last trilogy, I watched the original film and the one after that, so I did, although, it's not totally relevant to, I mean, it's important for me to have known roughly the history of how humans got here, but I also think that history has probably slightly shifted as time's gone on because it's so long after the last trilogy.
Right.
But I actually read the book because I was just because I was intrigued. It's obviously not what we're doing here, but that's very like the 1968 film. But it was interesting to read it.
Yeah. Well, Freya, any final thoughts you want to make sure you share before we wrap?
Just, if you're going to watch the film, and please do watch the film because you're going to love it, but please watch it on a big screen because it really needs to be seen on I mean, it's just better for you if you see it on a big screen, so please do that.
Absolutely. Freya, thanks for taking the time. So good to see you, and thanks for what you bring to this film.
Thank you so much. Lovely chatting.
Many films to view until we meet again. Next time we see you, we'll gladly fill you in. We'll tell about the happy and the sad ones. We'll talk about the good ones and the bad ones. Many films to view till we meet again.